Rosemary and I have had the privilege of supporting James and Ruth financially and, of course, prayerfully for a while now. We've had the privilege of conviction about who they are and the work that they do, the soldiers that they are on the front lines. And I'm honored that we've been given this opportunity to maybe have other people get to know them a little bit better and how they fight for the cause. Because it's no doubt the most difficult of the battles that we have among us right now is fighting on behalf of those who can't fight for themselves. So that, and I agree, let's bring it one day to a day when abortion is absolutely not only unthinkable, but people are going to say, what? People used to do that? That'd be great. So anyway, James and Ruth, it's yours. Thank you for being here.
So as Mark mentioned, my husband James and I work for an organization called the Canadian Centre for Bioethical Reform, or CCBR. And at CCBR, we believe that it is possible to end abortion in our lifetime. And to some people, this might sound like a crazy or bold claim to make, given how long abortion has been around in our country, and given what the situation is like today. But that's why I'm so glad that so many of you have come out tonight to hear why we believe that this is possible to end abortion in our lifetime. And what I hope that you will leave here today with is hope itself. We want to share the fruits of our work with you so that you will be inspired to partner with us further in ending abortion in this country, and so that you will come to believe that it is actually possible to do so. And as James and I were practicing our talk all this week, I actually kind of giggled as he was sharing his talk with me, his portion of the talk tonight, because it's just so exciting to be able to share the fruits of our labor with you, and to know of minds that have been changed and babies that have been saved. Whenever great injustices happen throughout history, youth movements have always risen up to combat these injustices. To quote our author Pearl Buck, "The young do not know enough to be prudent, and so they attempt the impossible and achieve it generation after generation." And so too it is with combating abortion in our country right now. There is a youth movement that is rising up that is saying, stop killing our generation, stop hurting women, and stop destroying our culture. And so too it is with our work with CCBR. We are rising up, we are confronting the culture, and we are living out the vision that has been placed in our hearts, which is a vision for an abortion-free Canada. So in the summer of 2010, our organization sat down to have what we call our annual dream session. And it was at this time that we realized that we needed a more cohesive strategy to end abortion in this country. It wasn't enough to just fight it or to save some lives. Is it possible to do more than what we're already doing in a more cohesive way to be the most effective and to use our time the most effectively? And so it was at this time that the End the Killing plan was conceived. Get my joke? It's conceived more like I think I'm funny. And the Killing Plan came about, a step-by-step plan of what we believed needed to happen in order to so drastically change the status quo of abortion in Canada to the point where great political change could come about. And because we know right now in Canada that there is no law. You can have an abortion up until 9 months of pregnancy for any reason or no reason at all. And right now, there are 100,000 abortions that happen every year alone in this country. And so it's possible to look at this kind of situation and to feel as though we can't do anything. Abortion is going to be around forever. But through the End the Killing plan, we have seen minds changed and babies saved. And so we know that it's possible that one person at a time, one baby at a time, abortion will be abolished forever in this country. I want you to imagine for a minute that you step outside your home. you're going off to run some errands, and as you step outside, you see that your neighbor has a pro-life lawn sign. Then you get in your car and you go to the mall to run some errands, and on one of the tables you see a pro-life postcard talking about abortion. Then you get back in your car and you go to grab some coffee, and on your way you see some pro-life activists on the street showing what abortion is and talking to people about the issue. And on your way home, you pass by a truck that has images of abortion on the side. This is the End the Killing plan in action, to 100% inundate the culture with what abortion is and what it does to preborn children.
What is the goal of the pro-life movement? To fight abortion? To reduce the number of abortions? Or to end the killing? Imagine the killing centers across the country closing down. Imagine the preborn having the same right to life as the born, in theory and in practice. Imagine an abortion-free Canada. The vision of End the Killing is to ensure the pro-life movement and all Canadians have 20/20 vision about who the preborn are and what abortion does to them. Too many Canadians think abortion is all about choice. We need to focus the debate on what is being chosen. There will be no more cover-up. Moments of courage. Will you help us end the killing in your community? Join the movement. Add to that postcards in mailboxes, lawn signs in neighborhoods, presentations, exhibits on campuses, conversations in the workplace, and literature on car windshields. End the Killing is not just a plan for one organization, but rather for the whole pro-life movement. Together, we can end the killing in our lifetime.
End the Killing. End the Killing is a result of many, many years spent studying social reformers of the past. So social reformers like Martin Luther King Jr., of course we all know who he is, of the civil rights movement. Social reformers like Alice Paul of the suffragist movement, or Louis Hine of the anti-child labor movement. And what you'll notice about all these movements that I've told you about is that all those movements were successful. Of course, we know Martin Luther King was successful. We know that the suffragist movement in the States was successful, and here in Canada. And we know that there's not a whole lot of child labor going on in Canada or the United States at this point in time. And what these people did was very simple. All these movements used the same strategy time and time again. And it was 3 steps. Here's the 3 easy steps to ending an injustice in your lifetime, in case you want to face another one. The first step is to expose the injustice. The second step is to confront the culture, show the culture the truth and love, of course. And the third step is to ensure that you endure the suffering that will come as a result of you showing the public what that injustice looks like. So to get a better idea of what this strategy looks like, let's take a look at 2 social reformers in particular. These people are very old. They're from the mid-18th century, and they are Thomas Clarkson and William Wilberforce, both of the abolitionist movement. Who here has seen the movie Amazing Grace? So some of us are familiar with these two gentlemen. They become household names. If you haven't seen Amazing Grace, it is a great way to spend a Friday night. So the story of these 2 men is a story of a united political and a united educational front. Of course, Thomas Clarkson represents the educational arm of the movement, and William Wilberforce was the political side of the movement. And these two men worked very closely together, doing exactly what I said, exposing the injustice, confronting the culture with it, and accepting the resulting persecution. So, what did they do? Well, in 1785, Thomas Clarkson began his journey in the abolitionist movement. He entered an essay writing contest, and his subject was the lawfulness of making men slaves against their will. After winning the essay writing contest, he dedicated his life to the abolitionist movement because of what he learned, because of what he saw while researching what was happening to men in the slave trade. And in 1788 now, this diagram was surfaced in England. This is a diagram of the slave ship Brooks. And for those of you who can't quite see, all these little lines here in the ship are how they stacked the slaves in the ship, how they stowed them. They stowed them side by side, getting as much room out of the ship's hold as humanly possible. It was inhumane. And when people saw this image, when people saw this diagram, it was eye-opening. And it was very important in the abolitionist movement when people saw this. It was a catalyst. And of course, in 1791 and 1790, the abolitionists put forward the abstract of evidence. This was presented to a special committee in the House. And what the abstract of evidence did was paint the picture. It gave written word testimony of what the slave trade was like. It gave real context to what the slave trade was exactly like for those men. To give you an idea of what kind of content was in this, I want to read you a quote, which is fantastic at giving you a really good idea of what it was like to be a slave in one of these slave ships. And I quote, "Mr. Falconridge also states on this head that when employed in stowing slaves, he made the most of the room, wedging them in. They had not so much room as a man in his coffin, either in length or in breadth. It was impossible for them to turn or shift with any degree of ease. He had often occasion to go down from one side of their rooms to the other, in which case he always took off his shoes, but could not avoid pinching them. He has the marks on his feet where they bit and scratched him. In every voyage, when the ship was full, they complained of heat and want of air. Confinement in this situation was so injurious that he has known them to go down apparently in good health at night and found dead in the morning. On his last voyage, he opened a stout man who so died. He found the contents of the thorax and abdomen healthy, and therefore concludes he died of suffocation during the night." So in a time when pictures were not readily available as they are today, I mean, we could take pictures on our smartphones, this kind of description was very important. And you can see this kind of description gives new light to that picture. It makes it a lot more real. It makes it a lot more alive for you to really grasp what the slaves were going through. And while Thomas Clarkson traveled the countryside, educating the public about what happened to the slaves, William Wilberforce sat in the House of Commons and argued for abolitionist bills. 20 years. It took these two men and the others that were working with them 20 years to end the slave trade. And on March 25th, 1807, the Slave Trade Act passed Parliament, abolishing the slave trade once and for all, after 20 years of struggle. Struggle with the public, struggle with their own health, as William Wilberforce suffered with a disease that we still suffer with today called colitis. Of course, they didn't know as much as we know now about it today, so you can imagine what that was like for him to go through all the arguing in Parliament with this stomach ailment that he had. And what these two men did was simple. Two ordinary men, regular people, just like me, just like you, just like Ruth. They saw an injustice and they responded. And they did exactly what I said they would do. They exposed the injustice. They confronted the culture with it. And they accepted the resulting persecution. And there was a lot of persecution. And if all these past social reform movements did it and it worked, why wouldn't we do it? Why wouldn't we expose the injustice, show people what it looks like? It's common knowledge in marketing today. If you want somebody to buy your product, you show it to them. Nike shoes, a hotel room, a nice hotel room, a Nintendo, or whatever product it might be. You want people to buy it, you show them the picture, and you let them experience it. But it's the picture that draws them in. And in the same way, in the pro-life movement, we need to do the same thing. We need to show people what it looks like. In the same way that we're turned off of going to a specific hotel because you see a picture online and the hotel looks like dirty and dingy, so of course you don't want to go there. The same thing we need to do with abortion. We know the reality of abortion, so we need to show people exactly what that reality is. And there is no better time to do that than now. Because in all honesty, Canada's abortion laws, or lack thereof, are some of the worst in the world. We're one of only 3 countries, that offers full, unrestricted abortion access. One of 3. The other 2 countries, in case you're curious, are North Korea and China. Since 1969, over 3 million children have died in this country. And since 1988, you could have an abortion for any reason, or you could have an abortion for no reason at all. You can have an abortion because maybe you know the child's going to be the wrong race. Maybe you know the child's going to be the wrong gender. Perhaps the child will suffer from a disability, maybe a disability like Down syndrome. Perhaps the child will be an inconvenience for you. You can do it for any reason you want. In fact, Canada is so pro-abortion that recently in Alberta, a judge gave a woman a suspended sentence for killing her infant right after birth, citing Canada's abortion laws as a reason for giving her the suspended sentence. They did, however, give her a sentence for improper disposal of a human corpse because she threw it over the fence. It's bad. It's really bad in Canada. And it's all legal. It's all paid for by our own tax dollars. So now I'm just going to play for you a quick video that shows abortion in its reality. It's meant to contrast life and death. And before closing your eyes and not watching, because it is hard to watch, before closing your eyes and not watching, I want to challenge you to look at it. See it in all its gruesome details. Because once we can face it, it's then that we'll be able to truly fight it. 2 months ago, I arrived at the office and I opened my email. And I noticed that I had received an email from YouTube. I'm in charge of doing all the video work for CCBR, so all of the YouTube emails come to me. And most YouTube emails that I get are just people arguing with each other or calling each other names. And as I read this comment, I wasn't expecting much, but I soon found out that it was quite different. And the comment was on just a little bit of a longer version of this video that we have on YouTube. And I'd like to share that comment with you now. This person wrote, "A big thank you goes out to whoever posted this video. I scheduled an appointment with Planned Parenthood to have this procedure and wanted to learn more because they wouldn't give me any information. I'm calling to cancel right now. I don't want my baby ripped to shreds. Thank you. I can finally make an informed decision." You know, when we look at the situation in Canada, the situation that I told you about, it can seem hopeless, it can seem bleak, because really we're starting at the very bottom and working our way up this huge hill. But it's stories like that, like the one I just shared with you, that tell me that we can actually do it. Because if we can change one person's mind, if we can save one life, we can change many people's minds. And we can save many lives. And you know, before I made this video, I made another video called Unmasking Choice. This video is another abortion video. It was one of the first ones that I ever made. And we posted it on YouTube, of course. And the other day, one of my colleagues, Devorah Gilman, who's part of Ottawa Against Abortion here, and is coming to work for us soon, she called me late at night one day. And it was really out of the blue, because I rarely talk to her. And she said, "James, I have a story I want to share with you." And she informed me of this story that now I'm going to share with you. I got her to type it out for me so I wouldn't get any details wrong. And this is the story that she told me. A university student approached me and told me last spring she came to my presentation where I played CCBR's Unmasking Choice video. She had recently found out that her best friend was pregnant and was considering an abortion. Seeing the reality of what abortion does to preborn children convicted her, and it motivated her to fight for the life of her friend's preborn child. After receiving information through the presentation and speaking to me afterwards, she was equipped to talk to her friend. And though her friend wasn't sure what to do, the student kept on fighting for the life of her friend's preborn child. And just a few weeks ago, her friend gave birth to a healthy baby, beautiful girl who she loves very much and is very thankful for. You know, I love these stories so much, and I have a really hard time containing my joy in them. And I have just one more story for you. A little while ago in the office, Stephanie came running up to my office and she said, "James, I need your help. We need to send some resources to a doctor who's dealing with a patient who wants to have an abortion." This patient wanted to have an abortion because it was going to be a girl. And Stephanie said, "James, can you collect some abortion images that would be the same gestation as this woman was? And can you send them to the doctor?" So I said, "Sure." And I remember having such a hard time sending the email. For whatever reason, the email wouldn't send. I kept sitting up there trying to resend it and resend it and resend it. And finally it sent. And a little while ago, not too long ago, Stephanie called me to her office and she said, "James, I have news for you. I heard back from the doctor that we spoke to, and apparently the woman decided to keep her baby She now has a beautiful baby girl, and she's extremely thankful that the doctor had talked her out of the abortion. It's such wonder and such joy. I can't contain my joy in it because it's such wonderful news. And like I said, if we can change one person's mind, if we can save one life, then how many can we save? The sky's the limit. How many minds can we change? The sky is the limit. And sometimes it only takes just a few seconds to change somebody's mind.
We were doing chores chain with the new abortion caravan outside the hospital in Brandon, Manitoba. And a young man named Jason walked by our display. So Jojo, who was holding a sign that said life with prenatal images, asked him what he thought about abortion. And he said, I think it's everyone's own decision. So then he walked past Catherine, who was holding a sign that said choice with abortion images. And he was really disturbed by this, and he asked why they look like that. So Catherine explained to him that that's what abortion does to preborn children. And when he was done talking to Catherine, he walked towards me, and I asked him what he thought now after seeing these images. And he said, after seeing these pictures, I could never support abortion again.
Like I said, just a few seconds. He kept walking and they just asked him, and he changed his mind, simply because he saw the pictures. As Ruth mentioned, a year and a half ago, we came up with End the Killing. We laid out a structure for ourselves and the whole pro-life movement. And in that year and a half, the amount of fruits that we've had from our work, the list goes on and on and on. And if I was to tell you about all of them tonight, we'd be here all night, and we'd all be grumpy in the morning, and it wouldn't be a very good way to start a Tuesday morning. So I'll save you that, and we'll just share just a few. I'll give you a little taste of the fruits that we've had with CCBR over the past little while. We spent countless hours doing Choice Chain, the project that she spoke of, on the streets, talking to everyday Canadians about abortion. People going to work, people going to lunch, people going home from work, maybe they're going to the mall. Everyday Canadians, just talking to them. We've given over 700 presentations to more than 50,000 people in Canada, in the United States, even in South Africa and England. And from those presentations, lots has happened. Of course, when we give a presentation to a school or a university, we always put out a survey. We want to know what people thought about abortion before the presentation, what they thought about after the presentation. And 1 being extremely pro-choice, pro-abortion, 10 being pro-life in all situations. Of those who indicated that they were staunchly pro-choice, so maybe 1 to 3, 42% shifted their view towards the pro-life position. 42% of the staunchly pro-choice people. Of those who were undecided, didn't really know what they thought, maybe 4 to 6 or 5, 7 or something like that. 77% indicated that they shifted their view more towards the pro-life position. 77%. And of those who indicated that they were pretty much pro-life, but maybe with a few hesitations, 53% shifted their view more towards the pro-life position. And just an interesting little tidbit for you, the people that we're targeting with our message, the people that we really want to talk to, are the people who are undecided, the people who don't really know. And it's interesting that that's the category that we have the most success in. Of course, all the categories are successful, but that's the category that we have the most success in. In 2011, we had 31,000 views on our videos. 31,000 views for our videos in a Canadian organization isn't too bad. Of course, we measure these all on YouTube. We have ways to count the video views. In 2012 alone, of course, we only just started December, so the stat's a little bit incomplete, but that doesn't matter because we've had over 135,000 in 2012 alone. That's 1 year, from 31,000 to 135,000. This past summer, as some of you know, we went on a cross-country tour. We traveled from Vancouver all the way to Ottawa. 35 days. 25 people working flat out, doing pro-life work from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. Eating, breathing, sleeping, pro-life work. And this is what happened in those 35 days. So just think about the last month of your life. This is what happened. 88. The number of media incidents that we had, the number of times the media covered us. Why is this important, you say? Because if the media covers us, they take our project from just that street corner and they put it in people's homes. They expand our audience by multiples, so many people. 89.5, the number of hours that we did Choice Chain on the streets, talking to everyday Canadians about abortion. 600, the number of hours our 2 trucks spent driving around town, showing people the reality of abortion. Of course, we have these two big box body trucks, and they have images of abortion on the side. We contrast them sometimes with life and bring it to people's attention. 1,300, the number of people who attended our presentations across the country and our one debate. 37,000, the number of views that our YouTube videos got during that time. 55,000, the number of postcards we dropped in people's mailboxes. 55,000 postcards. Imagine if the houses just had 2 people in them, an average of 2 people in them. That's 110,000 people. 88,884. The number of people that could see our online content at the peak during the tour. The number of people that could see our content from Facebook, that's our articles, some of our pictures, some of our videos. This was all 35 days. Just 35 days. 1 month. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if we had 25 people just doing it all year? Pro-life work to that extent all year? What it would look like? It would be nuts. But it would be so good. Because those fruits would be so much bigger. So many more postcards, so many more people reached. You know, there's a growing number of testimonies, a growing number of fruits coming from CCBR, as I mentioned. So I'm just going to play a quick video for you of some of those fruits, some of the people that we talked to, some of the stories of how these conversions happen.
Hi, my name is Deborah Gilman. I'm with the New Abortion Caravan and I'm 21 years old. While doing Choice Chain, I asked a high school student what she thought about abortion. She said she had researched the topic extensively, both pro-life and pro-choice sides, and that she was definitely pro-choice. After talking about 20 minutes, she said to me, "You're absolutely right. Abortion is always wrong."
Hi, my name is Catherine. I'm 22 and I'm with the New Abortion Caravan. While we were doing Choice Chain, I asked a young woman what she thought about abortion. She said she didn't know, and she took a pamphlet because she was in a hurry. A short while later, she returned and told me, "Thank you. I read all about it, and that's so unfair." And she took another pamphlet to give to a friend of hers.
Hi, my name is Ruth. I'm with the New Abortion Caravan and I'm 24 years old. I was doing Choice Chain on the street when a woman came up to me and told me that she thought abortion was stupid. In the midst of our conversation, she revealed to me that she herself had had an abortion. After speaking to Anita from Silent No More Awareness Campaign, she told me that she was glad that we were there and that she had vowed never to tell anyone about her abortion until today.
Hi, my name's Lauren. I'm with the New Abortion Caravan and I'm 21 years old. I
I was doing choice chain and I asked a 16-year-old girl what she thought about abortion, and she told me she'd never really thought about it before. After I described what an abortion does, she told me she was against it and said, "I can't believe this is happening." When I asked her what convinced her, she told me it was the pictures that got me.
Hi, my name is Micah Rosendahl. I'm with the New Abortion Caravan and I'm 25 years old. While doing church day, I asked the young man what he thought about abortion. And he said that while he was adopted as a baby, he had never thought about abortion himself. He left the conversation saying, "I know those pictures are real, and in my heart I know that you're right, and I'm going to think about what I can do about abortion."
Hi, my name is Francisco Gomez. I am with the New Abortion Caravan, and I am 26 years old. So while doing choice chain, a woman walked past by me, and I asked her what she thought about abortion, and she quickly said that she was pro-choice. So then after we agreed that some choices were wrong, I pointed at my sign and I asked her, "How can this be right?" Then after she stared at the sign, she said, "I don't even know what I am pro-choice anymore." And as she walked away, she said to me, "I can no longer support abortion."
What do you think about abortion? 6 words changed those people's minds. They started the process for them to see the reality of abortion. 6 words. What do you think about abortion? And that was all it took. Have a conversation, show them the pictures, show them the life pictures, show them the abortion pictures. And that was it. The rest is history. Like I said, if we can change one person's mind, we can change many people's minds. And that's just a small taste of all the testimonies that we had from the road, those 35 days. And you know, all these babies, all of these minds changed come as a result of many people's hard work. They come as a result of my hard work, they come as a result of Ruth's hard work. But you know, more importantly, they come as a result of the hard work of the many donors who are helping us do this work. We can't do this work if we don't have the funding for it. We need people to keep supporting us. And you know, it's not just the videos. It's not just the videos that you funded. It's also activism groups across this country, from Vancouver to Ottawa. Ruth has spent countless hours helping and working with volunteers across the country, asking them to set up their own activism group. And so now activism just doesn't happen, choice change just doesn't happen where CCBR is. It happens in Vancouver too. It happens in Chilliwack, in Lethbridge. It happens in Ottawa. In case you don't know about Ottawa Against Abortion, I really encourage you to get involved with them. They're fantastic people, just wonderful, wonderful people. And so all the people who have supported us have really helped us in this. And you know, there's never been a time more exciting in the pro-life movement than recently. We had Roxanne's Law on Parliament. We had Motion 312 just recently calling for debate. Sure, we didn't get the debate in the House of Commons, but we got the debate in the Canadian public like it's never been had for many, many years. And now we have Motion 408, a motion asking the House of Commons just to denounce sex-selective abortions. If you haven't contacted your MP to ask them to support the motion, I really encourage you to go home and find your MP and call them and say, I want you to vote for Motion 408. It's very, very important. And not only has it been the political sphere, although it's huge, pro-life bills and pro-life legislation has been on the Hill, left, right, and center, and it's what's been in the news. And that alone is a great victory. Because for years, abortion wasn't in the newspapers. It was a settled issue. But it's coming back, and it's coming back with force. because this generation is rising up. We're all working together towards this. And activism, like I told you, is happening across the country at alarming rates. Man, the groundswell of support for Motion 312 was unbelievable. Everybody I knew was talking about it. Everybody I knew was sending postcards or calling their MPs or sending emails and talking to their MPs. It's happening. And it's happening right in front of us. There's never been a more exciting time in the pro-life movement. So now I'm just going to play one last video for you. And I want you to really put yourself in the place of the people in this video. This video is of Amazing Grace. It's a story of William Wilberforce and Thomas Clarkson, as I told you. I want you to envision what it was like for William Wilberforce to sit there after 20 years and hear what he heard. I want you to envision being an abolitionist during the 18th century and listening to this, reading the news of this in the newspaper, hearing about it on the streets. Really put yourself in their shoes.
Slave Trade Act, the unamended bill calling for the abolition of the slave trade throughout the entire British Empire.
Nose to the left, 16. Eyes to the right, 283.
Be passed.
The man that you saw there, giving that sigh of relief, was William Wilberforce. And I want you to envision that happening in Canada. And I want you to know that it's real, that it's possible, that we can actually do that. That we can actually make abortion so unthinkable in this country that abortion clinics will be closing down, that people won't be seeking abortion, and our legislature will have no choice but to outlaw it for good. You know, I love that movie a lot. And I love that movie even more now that I've had little baby William. Of course, William is 3.5 months old now. He was born on August 13th at 10:16 p.m. You know the minutes. And it was really hard for me after he was born as I reflected on his birth, that at 10 o'clock the same day, he didn't have any legal rights. He didn't have any legal protections. You know, the day before, Ruth and I never would have done this. But the day before, under Canada's abortion laws, he could have been aborted. And unfortunately for many children, they don't get the same opportunity that he did to come out and experience the world in all its shock and awe, to let out a big cry, only to touch his mother and be silent. You know, since William's been with us, outside of the room, this work has really changed for me. It's made it a lot more difficult. As you know, I do all the video work, so I spend a lot of time sorting and sifting through abortion footage, finding the right footage to put in the videos so that people can see. And after he was born, I was working on a project called Face the Children, where we take pro-life, pro-choice MPs, what they say about abortion, and we contrast it with the truth. And I remember sitting in front of my computer weeping. And I had never done that before. And I wondered, what is going on? Why is this happening? I've been doing this for almost a year now. And I realized afterwards that all I saw in those children was William. And you know, it's really hard too, because in the job that we have, we talk to people about abortion. It's a very sensitive subject. So oftentimes people will, they'll just tell us a lot about their history. And I don't need to tell you that there's a lot of broken people in this world. And somebody told me a story of their past. And it was horrific. I won't sort of tell you anything about the story, but it was really bad. Really, really bad. And I got home. Of course, 5 o'clock comes at the office, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get home and see William and see Ruth. And I got home, and I was holding William. And all I could see was this woman's lost child. William's really put a face to all the missing children in our country. So, as Ruth mentioned, we're here to tell you about ending killing, to tell you about all the fruits. And if you leave here with hope today, then great. We've done our job. As we leave you tonight, I want to read you a quote by a great man, Martin Luther King Jr. He once said, "Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when man must make a decision that is neither safe, that is neither politic, and that is neither popular. But one must simply take that position simply because it's right." Thank you so much for coming. It was fantastic and wonderful to speak to you. And Ruth and I would love to answer any questions that you might have. And of course, we'll be here for a while, so don't feel you have to ask in front of everybody if you don't want to, but we are happy to answer any questions that you may have about our work or about anything we've shared with you tonight. Yes?
Yes, is the CCBR roadshow going on next year again? And is it
we haven't made
days or longer?
No, we haven't made a decision. This was a specifically special project because we modeled it off of the abortion caravan of 1970, which was to advance women's rights. And we traced the same steps that they took and tried to mirror what they did. So I don't know if we'll do it again. We'll have to analyze whether it's effective or not. We're not. We don't typically do annual events at CCBR only because we're constantly analyzing our projects and if we can make that project better. So it could happen in the future. Who knows? I certainly don't know, and I'm sure that Ruth doesn't know as well. So it could be happening again, but I don't think it'll be this summer. Yeah. Yes?
Are you allowed to put those kind of those postcards in newspapers and that? Haven't read any of them?
I really don't think that any newspaper is going to give us any ad space in their newspaper. So
what about the small town newspapers?
Maybe
They've printed news stories about us before and shown the pictures, but to ask for permission to have those photos printed in a paper, I would doubt it. We've had less graphic images than these ones in advertisements that we've tried to put in a paper, and they've rejected those as well. So as we all know, the media is a bit...
Like, is it legal though? That's my question.
Sorry?
Is it legal?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 You said you can't, you guys find out you got thousands of newspapers in Canada. Can't you find some small town newspapers and, and go a long way like that?
Yeah,
or
that's
on
something
buses, or on buses. and
Yeah,
things
that's
like that.
something that we'll definitely take into account as small towns across Canada for sure. It's really difficult though. The media is pretty. You could pretty much paint it with a broad stroke.
Well, like you're saying, like what a difference it makes you, like you guys convert one person, like you can do.
That's right.
You can do thousands through the media.
That's right. But the problem with the media is that we're not really sure what they're going to cover and if they'll cover us. And so we try to design our projects so that we don't need the media. But if we do get the media, then fantastic. And so, yeah, we've spent quite a bit of time working with media and trying to get different ads and stuff put in bus shelters and so on and so forth. And it's a lot of work.
And sometimes we can end up spending a lot of time fighting those battles, which will take us away from having those conversations on the street, and because it can take a lot of work to fight those legal battles, and those are all important fronts, but our mission and our purpose is to really speak to people and to really have that one-on-one connection and conversation with them. And so we always, as James said, trying to evaluate what's the most effective way we can use our time and your money, right? And those are two very important things to us. So maybe it's in the works and we'll have to keep talking about it, but as it stands right now, working with the media and newspapers is a very difficult thing to do. So constantly battling.
That's all.
It just is not always possible, but maybe.
But we'll take that for sure. Yeah. Yes.
It seems to me that culturally, the other side, if I can call it that, has gained access to espousing its views everywhere, particularly with the younger people. And we've all heard it. But I was concerned when I heard that there was an issue of putting there was pro-choice, was okay on some university campuses, but others' views are not, our views are not. And wondering if we can't, what you're doing is admirable, congratulations for taking up cause, but there's other ways to influence, and that is, and direct messaging, which you're talking about doing, is getting to the younger people, so they don't, in a liberal institution, which most universities are, very much theoretical and non-practical, to bring the message of reality to them. That might be a good focal point, so that they grow with our views. And that is not the whole battle, but it is part of the growth of looking at things differently and not just accepting what you hear, which is, everybody should have a choice.
Right, and we, as many of you know, James and I faced our own battles on campus as well in trying to bring the pro-life perspective as much as possible. So that's definitely a priority we have with CCBR, is to be at the university level. The issues that we face are the administration, right? Giving us access and fair and equal access, and kind of like the media, we end up spending a long time fighting the administration, and that takes away from doing projects that we really want to do. So we're trying to figure out ways to be creative, to have the pro-life message on campus where we don't need to ask for permission, because that's the best way that we can get access into these places. The thing that we have been more and more realizing is we really need to get into the high schools more, because we've almost found by the time these kids get to university, they're already pretty hardened, and they've already been exposed to a lot of lies. So both fronts are high priority for us, and the average age of people having abortions is 18 to 25. So right there in university, and definitely any way we can continue to try and effectively get into that space, that's what we're aiming to do.
The suggestion,
yes.
The alumni of the universities provide funding, which probably many people in this room have done. And we have a say too in organizing the alumni to help do some of the work for you, the battles with them, and to threaten them where it hurts, because they want growth and they want energy as well.
Yeah. And I've heard and I've heard, just personally, people have told me that when Carleton University called them for donations, which is the university James and I attended, where we were persecuted by the administration. A lot of people refused to donate, and that was very touching for us.
I was one.
Oh, thank you. And that obviously hurts them, right? And will make them think twice about doing that again to anyone else.
Especially when they've invited you for a dinner saying thank you for your large contribution. Again, you say no, and I give you another $1. It does hurt.
Yeah.
If somehow somebody could organize someone else to do that.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely something that you should think about. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And even on the topic of universities, having people go farther in university to get to the professor level is very important as well, because as you mentioned, a lot of universities are very left-leaning universities, and there's not a lot of people that are going to speak the pro-life message from that part of the classroom. And so that's also a huge important place to be, for sure.
That's why even here in Ottawa, we've tried to spend a lot of time through Ottawa Against Abortion, the activism group, raising up leaders who will be on campus, who can be that voice for the truth in the classroom, because we can't always have access to those places even. So any way that we can influence people and inspire them to be courageous in those settings, which can be very difficult to do, is a good thing that we're always trying to see through.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any more questions? Yes.
At one point on your presentation, you listed sort of a number of other pro-life groups. Like we get so much from Action Life, Campaign Life, all of these things, and everything is good. But individually, we're trying to support. But either you only get a small piece of the pie. Like, are you working together
Yeah, that's a very good question. Very good question.
You're so dynamic and you're so excited and you're so eager. It just seems to me if we pooled all the resources financially, maybe brainstorming other goods could come out of it.
Yeah.
And I think for sure, that's why, in the killing plan, we say it's not a plan for one organization. The goal is to unite the whole movement, so under one mission, right, which is to end abortion. And you're right, it would be a much more effective use of time and money.
And talent.
And talent, yeah.
To have an arm that just goes after the media and just goes after the politicians.
Right. And we've seen a lot of success so far. Like I was telling someone earlier that in Toronto, Campaign Life Coalition does some of our projects, and we work with them on different campaigns. And here in Ottawa, I know, through Ottawa Against Abortion, that Action Life and Life Canada have participated, and there is starting to be more and more cohesion between all the groups, because we're not as strong if we just work independently and each do our own thing. So definitely a high priority for us. And as long as people are open to working with us, we're happy to work with whoever, and we're definitely trying to work on that more and more as we expand and meet new people.
And I can tell you that the movement is uniting very quickly. It's gluing together very quickly and very fast.
Because I know Campaign Life has really been trying to get into the media. Like maybe that would be the arm that they would specialize in.
Yeah.
But has anybody sort of gone to, say, the Catholic School Board and say, perhaps some of the senior students should have to take a bioethics course in some of this education stuff, and then this would be
it's a great idea. Martin Luther King Jr. used to have this quote that he said, leaders will be running to catch up with their followers. And we've sort of found, even with the Catholic School Board, that there's been issues, and to even talk about pro-life issues, right, as we've seen. Right, yeah. So the way that we would try to do it is to go through our individual contacts in the schools first, like the pro-life clubs that we know are starting up, at least in Ottawa, and try to get in that way, which we've had some success doing. So better to do that and not ask for permission from the top, or we for sure would be rejected, I think, at this point. But anything's possible in the future.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Hi. I'm just part of the Show the Truth campaign.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so last weekend we stood on the corner, not last weekend, before, the St. Ronald Road.
Oh, great.
With the large graphic signs. And
good.
It's hard getting support to even go out. A lot of the pro-life movement don't like the graphics on, and that's discouraging.
Yeah, and you know, that's very true. I mean, I would elaborate on that and say that the entire pro-life movement doesn't like the signs and the pictures, because they're nasty. They're disgusting, right? Like that's the height of bad, you know, and it is very difficult for sure. And stepping that first step is often the hardest, but once you've stepped it, then it's the gravy train from there on in, you know, like it's very simple. So oftentimes if you've never been out with Ottawa Against Abortion or the Show the Truth campaign, or if you've never been out doing pro-life activism before, I really encourage you just to try to take that step, because it's great to have 5 people doing Choice Chain, but it's 2 times as better to have 10 people doing Choice Chain, and more people. That's why things like the March for Life are so important, because people can see, man, that's a lot of people. And it's important for people to notice that, because I think there's often maybe perhaps the idea that we're like the fringe, that we're the people who don't really understand the world, and we don't know what's going on. But the more people who are in the fringe isn't the fringe anymore. The fringe is the movement. So yeah, I really encourage you, get involved in those activities, get involved in pro-life activism, even in your churches. If you're at church and you can run a pro-life group there, or just talk to people in church about abortion. You know, that's always a great idea. But yeah, for sure, it's very difficult, but that is changing, and that's changing very, very quickly. Yeah. Maybe one last question, if there's one last question, and then we can talk to you individually.
And so just to reiterate,
Yes.
the donation forms and the contact cards are on your chair, and if you can just fill them out and hand them to James or I, that would be great.
Yes, put them in my hand, or in Ruth's hands. Don't put them in baby William's hands, he'll eat them.
Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.